Hey there, my name is Brendan Davis, and I appreciate you checking out my video. First, I want to say that I'm recording a new introduction right now. This is 3 weeks after the rest of the video you're going to watch, where I'm sitting at a desk and my hair is all pulled back. It's the same guy. I also trimmed my beard. I look a little different. But another reason I look different is I've lost even more weight in the last 3 weeks. So I want to tell you a few things really quickly right now that will help you understand why I made this video and what you can get out of it. So I'm really making this video for 3 different kinds of people. Category 1 are people who have wanted to try a ketogenic diet, but just haven't been able to cut through all the noise to figure out sort of how to get started. Like they just don't quite understand some things. They're confused about some of the concepts. The second category of people are people who have a friend or a family member or a loved one, someone they care about, who is on a ketogenic diet, and you don't understand it, or you don't understand it super well, and you're trying to support them. You need to figure out either how to help them with their choices, you're trying to be a good partner or friend to your friend, and you want to make sure that what you do helps to support their weight loss, because it's pretty hard to get into this if you are new to it. And the third category of people are people who have read a whole lot about it and maybe even have had some success. They've started, but they're finding themselves running out of options. Like it's just hard to figure out how to move forward and what to do, and they're getting bored of the same old stuff. And so they really kind of need a plan to be able to stick with it and move forward. This video will answer questions that all 3 of those kinds of people have and a lot more. So why did I name this Quarantine Keto? Well, in the US, a lot of us are under stay-at-home restrictions, and around the world, depending on where you live, you may actually be under a proper quarantine, or maybe your society is starting to open back up and you can get out and about a bit. But the world is not back to normal in any way, in any meaningful way. And there's never been a better time to make some big change, like getting into a ketogenic diet or some other exercise program, than there is right now, while we are under these kind of limited social restrictions and you have a lot of time to yourself. That's what makes it hard for some people, but it's also a big opportunity, and I want to tell you the best information I can to try to help you make the most of this. One last quick note before I get into this is that as we go through this video, I'm going to talk about meals, food, grocery lists, things like that. And at the very end of the video, what I've done is I've put together a big grocery list. It's a suggested list. You don't have to eat all these things, but I wanted to show you just how many choices you have. And I put that all in one place at the end of the video so you can screenshot it. It holds for like 5 seconds, so you can just screenshot it, and it will help you get started with figuring out a grocery list. But first, let me tell you why this is so personal to me. This video was shot last fall, but what you'll notice about this video is, frankly, how fat I am. This was a very important and fun night for me, and I wanted to look my best. And you'll see that I'm even wearing basically kind of men's control top like underwear. It's like a girdle, basically. That's what that line is. And the shirt I was wearing fits me like a sausage skin. It's the same shirt I'm wearing in the rest of this video, and this is the jacket. So let me show you what's happened since last fall. This jacket is a single-breasted jacket, and now it fits like this. I've lost like this much weight around my midsection, for instance, and this has all been in less than 6 months. Now, my results are not typical, but they are real. So without any further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. I'll pop back in this new look to give you another update here in a minute. I'm really fortunate that my business normally takes me all over the world. And it was a rare visit to my mom's home back in Birmingham, Alabama, when I finally got on a scale and I had my head yanked out of the sand about my weight situation. Now, I am not fat shaming here. I want to say this up front. There are beautiful, healthy people of all shapes and sizes, of course. But in my case, I was dangerously overweight, and I was worried about my health. I stepped on that scale at my mom's house. In my case, I thought I was 250. Now, that's still pretty heavy. I'm 5'11", and that's if I stand up really, really straight. I'm not that tall. But when I stepped on the scale at my mom's house, I weighed not 250, not 260, 305 pounds. That freaked me out, and I knew I had to make a massive, massive change. So for context, I was 305 pounds at my mom's house late last November. As I record this, it's the end of April right now, 2020. As of today, I weigh 214 pounds. That's 91 pounds lost in 5 months. Hi, it's Future Brendan. It's 3 weeks later than the shot you're just looking at, and my update is simply that I have gone past the 91 pounds lost. I've now lost over 100 pounds in the last 5.5 months. And as you can see, I still have plenty of weight to lose. You know, it's really obvious, right? I'm not going to try to hide, but the reality is that in the last 3 weeks, I've lost another 10 pounds. And so I wanted to let you know that the progress can actually happen this fast. I want to be able to show you personally. Let's get back to the rest of the video. And those results I just mentioned, those are all diet. Exercise isn't even a factor in my results. So let me tell you how I did it and how you can do it too. But first, a disclaimer though. I am not a doctor or a nutritionist or other medical professional with any pedigree in this, so heed all of this advice and these tips below at your own peril. It's my experience and what works for me in terms of taste and food preferences, etc. So next, let's get into some high-level do's and don'ts about how to make this work. These are the fundamental principles that will set you up for success as you move forward. Getting your food macros right, your macro ingredients, your macronutrients stack that you have. Getting your macros right is the #1 most important thing to making a keto diet work. You must get about 70% of your calories in any given day from good fats. Then about 25% of your calories from protein, and only 5% of your calories from carbohydrates. That's it. No joke, not kidding. In terms of carbohydrates specifically, I mentioned 5%. What does that look like practically for the average person? For the average person, that means that you need to keep your total carbohydrate intake in a day to under 25 grams. Now, that's a measly amount of food. That's tiny. And especially in things that are calorie dense, that could be a bite or two of some super rich dessert or something. And you also have to watch out for hidden carbs in sauces or other places that are hard to track. No ketchup. Ketchup's gone unless you find a no sugar ketchup. They make those. There's keto versions of almost everything available out there, but you have to start looking at the labels and really paying attention to this stuff. Another keto killer is eating too much protein in one sitting. And high protein diets in general are amazing for most people. But if you overeat protein on a keto diet, that can really stymie your progress. So fat really is the key here. And lastly, try for a balance of these macros at every feeding. But it is okay to skip carbs completely. You can skip carbs completely and be fine. You'll actually just lose weight faster. Now let me give you a few other tips, keys, notes, and things from my own personal experience. First of all, this is another one of those, if there's a Mount Rushmore of keto rules, right beside getting your macros right is this idea: you cannot cheat on keto and have it work. Repeat after me. No cheat days. Cannot do it. No cheat meal, no cheat days. Doesn't work. For a ketogenic diet to work, you must get your body into a state known as ketosis, which essentially means you're burning fat for fuel. Ketosis uses the fat you eat to turn that into energy. It's a completely different metabolic process. And then when you run out of the food in your stomach or your system, it turns to your stored fat. And you burn fat when you're not doing anything, when you're sleeping at night. That's the beauty of ketosis. For people first getting into ketosis, it often takes 2 or 3 days even to really get into it. So you have to get into ketosis and stay in ketosis for it to work. If you knock yourself out of ketosis, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to take you possibly another day or 2 to get back into ketosis. That's from one cheat meal. A ketogenic diet is not something that you can do halfway. You have to commit. And it's also important to note that if you're not in ketosis, eating as much saturated fat as I'm about to tell you about in this diet, I mean, frankly, it could probably kill you long term, but at a minimum, it's going to make you much, much fatter. If you eat the kind of food I'm going to talk about the way I talk about it, and you're not in ketosis, if you're also eating sugars and you're not able to get into or maintain ketosis, it's just going to make you fatter. So please don't think that you can modify this significantly and have it work. These are fundamental principles. So for me, how do you do this? For me, in general, the most effective way to get into or get back into ketosis, if you screw up, is to fast. So fast, don't eat anything. Drink water, drink no calorie, like, unsweetened coffee. The bottom line is that if you master your food, you are most of the way there. Now let's talk about a few typical meals that I eat day to day. This will just give you some idea, and then we're going to go into an actual grocery list, okay? So first of all, eggs. I love eggs. You can cook them in butter or with another good oil, with cheese, with avocado on the side. Next up is some kind of meat with a side of green vegetables, and I will probably add some cheese to that too if there's not a lot of fat in the meat itself, or if I didn't use an excess of cooking oil. But I would typically cook all these things in olive oil or avocado oil or with butter. Bacon, and more bacon. Now, I don't make it much. It's smelly, it makes a big mess, but I sure do like to eat it. So when I go out again, that's something I'm looking forward to, is having some more bacon. You can have a platter of salamis and cheeses. So different types of salamis, prosciutto, like deli meats, things like this. The kind of thing you might normally have with a little piece of bread, just skip the bread. And you can put olive oil on the plate, dip it in there. It's lovely. A few of the things that are really easy to make and taste awesome are baked meatballs or chicken with pesto sauce. You can put it in a pan with some pesto sauce and some cheese, maybe some extra olive oil or some butter. Bake that, it's really good. And then of course we have fish. I love it either baked or pan fried with a side of vegetables, all cooked in some good oils, etc. So good. Now let me give you one note about intermittent fasting, okay? Because this is also part of my diet. You don't have to do this for this to work, but I found that it sort of naturally happened for me. I was philosophically thinking I would like to do this, but I hadn't committed fully to IF being part of my plan. But I noticed that I just wasn't that hungry. My personal feeding window is between about 2 and 8 p.m. Otherwise, I'm fasting. I try to have my last meal by about 7 p.m. most days. Sometimes it drifts to 8. Actually, quite often, I will only have one meal a day because I'm just not hungry otherwise. Once your body knows it can burn stored fat for fuel, it's happy to do so. That's the amazing thing, is the fat that's so stubborn and hard to lose on pretty much any other regular diet. It's stubborn and hard to lose for other reasons, other metabolic reasons. Your body's in a different system. If you're in ketosis, your body wants to burn fat, and that stored fat is delicious to your body. It can't wait to burn it. It's energy rich. It cannot wait. So one other key is do not eat within about 4 or 5 hours of sleeping. Now this is really, really important. For most people, that means finishing that last meal around 6 or 7 or 8, depending on when you go to bed. And then you don't want to eat for as long as you're comfortable in the mornings before your stomach and your body tells you otherwise, okay? This is part of the trick of this, is don't let your conditioned brain and your reflexes tell you we must eat now. See if you're really hungry. It takes some time, and especially if you're like I was and you're wrapped in this cocoon where food is frankly a big comfort and a pleasure. You're eating for pleasure more than you're eating for nutrition and sustenance. It's hard to make this switch, but this one is really key. You want to do this. Once you can lick this, you don't even have to change your diet that radically. If you just did that and kept whatever diet you're on, you're going to lose some weight eventually. The last thing I'll say about this before I get into the specifics of food and give you a shopping list is that to make any diet or lifestyle change in general work, you must take control of yourself and learn to chart your own course. There's literally no way around this, but you have the power to do it. I know you do because I had it, and I always thought my willpower was basically non-existent, and I'm glad that I proved myself wrong, and I'd like for you to prove yourself wrong also. Okay, those are all the basics and fundamental principles you need to know and really internalize to make this work. Now let me give you a shopping list. Let's talk about this by category. First of all, with proteins, I already mentioned eggs. A few tips. Quality is key. Get organic if possible. Organic applies to pretty much anything here, but you can cook them in any way imaginable, all right? Boil them, fry them, scramble them, make frittatas with peppers and onions and garlic, bake them in a dish. So many options, so good. Next, steak. The best steak has a little marbling to it. Don't get the leanest cuts you can. Actually, aim for the T-bone. Aim for that sirloin that's got a healthy strip of fat on it that you would normally pass over in favor of the filet maybe. Get that fattier cut of meat that's only going to help you with your progress here. Next up is pork. You can either get yourself some good bacon or maybe make pork chops. You can cut it up and put it in a stir fry of some kind. Chicken. there's not a lot of fat on the chicken, so you're gonna want to cook that, especially in maybe extra of the good fats, okay? So bake it in olive oil and butter, or maybe a pesto sauce, which is basically basil, olive oil, salt, garlic, and a little bit of ground up pine nuts, which are not gonna mess up your diet. The IKEA meatballs and fish are both really, really good. You can take those IKEA meatballs, cook them, bake them in some olive oil. You could pan fry them, but baking is gonna be a little better. But you can get the big bags of those and put them together with some kind of a suitable sauce and bake it. It's really tasty. Also, I love their salmon at IKEA. Their smoked salmon, it's ready to eat when you pull it out of the package. Really good, really easy, really tasty. Lastly, but not leastly, again, salamis. Quality sliced meats. Do not get processed lunch meat. That stuff is terrible for you for lots of reasons. Keto's not even the first reason why that stuff is bad. Next, let's talk about vegetables. Vegetables are going to be the main source of carbohydrates that you take in. And there are actually a lot of choices here. I'm partial to green vegetables. It's funny, the stuff I absolutely hated as a kid, and my mom told me, you know, when you're a grown up, you'll love this. And I'm like, there's no way. I love it. Broccoli, asparagus, spinach, those are my trifecta. Those are my 3 favorite ones, and I absolutely hated those as a kid, and now I love them, and they're so keto-friendly, and they're full of great nutrients. I love peppers. I love hot peppers. I actually eat ultra hots, not as crazy as some of my friends, but hot, ultra hot, bell, shishito, go crazy with the peppers. Now, this is another key. With vegetables in general, the hardest thing for most people to get right and to understand in the first place is that some vegetables, including things that are otherwise super healthy or delicious, are also super starchy or high in carbs or calorie dense in ways that they must be avoided at all costs. The no list includes things like potatoes. The Irish in me is horrified, but no potatoes. Carrots. Carrots are great. My girlfriend loves carrots. She can eat them because she's thin. I can't really eat carrots. They're too starchy and too sugary for a keto diet. Most fruits, okay, are also super sugary. The issue with things that turn into sugars really fast, they spike your insulin levels. It basically starts to wreck the process you've gotten yourself into with keto. It wrecks it pretty fast. Fats, and this is our big one. So first of all, I mentioned cheese already. Cheese is a big one. Now, some of the conventional wisdom about keto says that soft cheeses are the best, but I like soft cheeses occasionally, but you know what I like them on? I like them on crackers and bread, which I can't eat. So to avoid the mess, I don't eat like a spoon of brie. That sounds as gross to you as it does to me, right? But I love hard cheeses, sharp, really savory cheeses, okay? I'm Gouda, cheddars of all kinds, reserved age, ultra sharp cheddars. I love all that stuff. Parmesans, and all of my success is exclusively based on eating those only. I think I had brie one time and I had gorgonzola twice, and those are great. But for me, I prefer those other cheeses. And again, we have animal fats that you get from the meat or the fish that you're eating. Then you have your oils. All your cooking should be in good fats. Olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, or butter. Those are the 4 mainstays for me. If you have a favorite, leave it in the comments. I've heard some people talk about some of these other oils that they like a lot. Snacks. Everybody needs snacks. Part of why I don't often eat a big meal earlier, I usually just have the one meal a little later in the day, is because I do snack a little bit. What do I snack on? I love macadamia nuts. They are damn near the perfect keto food. The balance of the macros is like the definition of ketogenic. If they were half the price, I'd eat them twice as often though. The other one is almonds, especially if you're on a little more of a budget, or you just want to mix it up, or you don't like macadamia nuts. If you don't like macadamia nuts, I don't know what's wrong with you. They're pretty amazing, but almonds are a good choice. Basically, any nut you like is okay. These are just my choices. These are my favorites. Fruits and sweets. I do have a few things on my list, and again, you can find a lot of things that are gonna work for you, but the ones I like to keep it simple. Part of my success has been keeping it really super simple. I have a handful of things in every category that are my go-tos. Then I have some things that are sort of the, if I can't get this, then get that. I have those 2 lists in my head at all times. So For me, the fruits that I like are raspberries, strawberries, and blackberries. Those are all very friendly on keto. As with any sugar, anything that carbohydrate, so vegetables, fruits mostly, you want to limit your intake. You want to be careful. You want to look at the package, see what serving size contains what amount of carbs, and then eat significantly less than 25 grams of that total per day, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's talk about condiments. So sauces, other flavorings, etc. Lemon juice is great. Hot sauce, my absolute favorite. Doesn't go in everything, but I've tried it in almost everything, and I love it most of the time. Sea salt is really great. Of course, pepper. There's some evidence that things like turmeric, for instance, help to increase thermogenesis, which is your body's ability to burn fat. And so go for it. If you have a great big spice rack, that's going to help make this diet suck a whole lot less for you when you're getting started until you get into it, because you can season and spice things to your heart's content. You can go crazy. Garlic, because it's awesome. I love it. It's super great. Pesto sauce I mentioned. And then there's a little sort of a fancy thing that I like. I love the Angostura orange bitters. Bitters like you use with some cocktails. There's an orange bitters. I love that. I use them in whiskey drinks, which I'll talk about in a second, and iced coffees. I love them with my iced cold brew coffee. I stir it in a little bit, and it really gives it a great flavor to it. So let's talk about drinks. Main drinks, water. Can't drink enough water. We can never drink enough water. Probably never have too much water in general in our lives. I drink a ton of water. I also drink a whole lot of coffee. And the way I do it is I usually make like iced Americanos using cold brew coffee, and I take a glass of ice. I put about this much cold brew in it. Then I fill up the rest with some kind of fizzy water, which is my goofy name for something like San Pellegrino, Perrier, etc. I stir that in, no sugar, of course. Very occasionally, I have used a little bit of heavy cream or some half and half. Do not make actual lattes. You don't need milk. Milk's not going to help you. But fizzy water also, just something like San Pellegrino, Perrier, Schweppes soda water, any of those calorie-free, and I wouldn't get the artificially sweetened waters, okay? I don't like those. That's just because I don't like them. But things like Hint and LaCroix that have a little hint of fruit flavor, but there's no artificial sweetener and no calories, those are super tasty. Let's talk about what some of you have been hoping I would address, which is alcohol. I don't personally drink a lot, and drinking frequently is going to slow your progress for sure. That's just extra calories. But you can have a little bit of alcohol on a ketogenic diet and not ruin your progress as long as you choose wisely. Now, wines and beers are a giant no in general. There are a handful of exceptions. There are a few wines that some keto people, like Tim Ferriss, there's a specific wine that he will have a glass of, and that's okay. But when I drink, I want more than one glass of wine. I want other kinds of wine, and if it's a beer, I'm going to want 2 or 3 beers. So I love those if I was going to have a drink normally. But I have made the adjustment, and spirits are okay in moderation in general. So vodka. Vodka is most people's go-to. And a little rum or tequila is okay. Some of those have a fairly high sugar content. You want to sort of pay attention to that. But for me, a good whiskey is my absolute favorite thing. I like it straight, but I also drink it on the rocks or as a whiskey soda that I make, again, with fizzy water. I'll take some San Pellegrino or some Perrier, and I'll stir that up, and it gives you a nice cocktail made with whiskey. Hey, thanks so much for watching all of this. As I talk, I'm going to put up this grocery list on the screen so you can see it as I'm saying goodbye to you, and you can screenshot this, and it will help you get started. Don't forget, of course, just search like keto-friendly vegetables, keto-friendly fruits, and you can find all kinds of great information online to supplement what I'm telling you. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like, a subscribe, a share, and if you know anyone who's struggling with this, please help them out. Support them however you can. I know it's tough. If you're doing this, I understand. I understand what you're dealing with. I understand the motivations very well, very personally. I'm going to update this when I hit my big goal. And if I get enough questions about this that I feel I can answer, I might do a follow-up video in between. But otherwise, I'm going to do a big video when I finally hit my goal. And then I'll reveal the before and after photos of me possibly with the shirt off. I don't know if the world's ready for that now. I'm not ready for that now. But hopefully by the time that I release that, it will be a little less terrifying. But no promises. We'll see where we go. Thanks again. I'm Brendan Davis. I appreciate you checking out my channel. I normally talk about film, TV, music, entertainment business stuff. That's what this channel is mostly about. I don't think I'm a keto guru. I just want to share what's working for me. Had so many people see my progress, ask me how I did it. I wrote a blog about it, and I've shared as much as I can. And the response has been really great among my friends and circle of people who see me and know my progress. And people encouraging me to share this, so I hope you got something out of it. I really appreciate it. All the best to you. Thanks again for listening. I'm Brendan Davis, and I hope to see you next time.